The human named Aaron stepped into the cold alien town with slow, careful steps. He came here only to rest for the night. But the air felt heavy, strange, and full of fear. Shops were closed, windows were locked, and everyone walking on the streets kept their heads down. Aaron felt eyes watching him from every corner, because humans were not welcome here. Still, he kept walking, hoping to find a place to sleep. But then he heard something that froze his heart. A scream, sharp and painful, echoing through the streets like a warning. He turned toward the sound and saw a huge crowd gathered in the middle of the square. People were shouting, pushing, and throwing stones toward the center. Aaron moved closer. And what he saw made his stomach twist. 2 alien sisters were surrounded by the angry mob. The older sister had fallen to the ground, her arms covering her head as stones hit her again and again. Blood ran down her cheek, her breathing was weak. And her eyes looked distant. The younger sister, small and shaking, tried to protect her with her own body. But the crowd kept hitting them without mercy. The girl cried, "Please stop." She didn't do anything, but no one listened. Someone shouted, "Traitors do not deserve mercy," another voice yelled. "Finish them both." Aaron felt a sharp pain in his chest as he watched the scene. His heart told him to walk away. His mind warned him not to interfere. But something deep inside would not let him leave. Suddenly, the younger alien sister saw him. Her eyes widened with fear and hope at the same time. She ran toward him, dodging stones and angry hands. She stopped right in front of him and dropped to her knees. Her hands pressed on the ground, her head bowed low. "Please, human. Save my sister," she begged in a shaking voice. "I'll belong to you forever. I'll do anything. Just save her." The entire mob fell silent. Every eye turned toward Aaron. The air felt like it stopped moving. The girl's words echoed through the square like thunder. Aaron stood frozen for a moment. He looked at the injured sister lying on the ground. He looked at the younger girl kneeling in front of him, trembling and covered in dust. Then he looked at the mob. Their faces were full of hate, waiting for him to walk away or to die trying. Aaron breathed in deeply. He could feel danger crawling all over his skin. He knew stepping forward meant trouble, but leaving them would haunt him forever. Slowly, he bent down and lifted the younger girl to her feet, her eyes filled with tears. Then Aaron stepped into the circle of the mob and walked toward the injured sister. The crowd moved aside slightly, shocked that a human dared to interfere. Aaron knelt beside the older sister. Her breathing was shallow, her body shaking. He placed his hand under her shoulder and whispered, "You're safe now. I've got you." She opened her eyes for a moment and tried to smile. The younger sister ran to her and held her hand tight. The mob began to shout again, angrier than before. "Leave them, human," someone yelled. "You will die with them," another voice warned. But Aaron did not move. He lifted the injured sister in his arms. She was light, too light, and he knew she had lost a lot of strength. The mob took a step forward. Stones were lifted again. Voices rose like thunder. The younger sister grabbed Aaron's sleeve and whispered, "Please run. Please save her." Aaron looked around. Behind him were narrow alleyways, dark and winding. Ahead of him was the angry crowd ready to tear him apart. He made his choice in a heartbeat. With the injured sister in his arms and the younger girl beside him, he turned toward the nearest alley. The first stone flew past his shoulder. The mob roared and charged toward them. The younger girl screamed, "Hurry. They will kill us." Aaron ran. His heart pounded like a hammer. The sound of footsteps behind him grew louder. The angry mob was chasing them. The desperate plea was still ringing in his ears. "Save my sister. I'll belong to you forever." And Aaron knew this was only the beginning of a much bigger storm. Aaron ran through the narrow alley with the injured sister in his arms and the younger sister holding tightly to his coat. The cold night wind cut across his face as he dashed forward, his heart beating painfully hard. Behind him, the mob screamed in anger, their footsteps smashing against the ground like thunder. The younger girl looked back and cried out, "They are coming faster! They will catch us!" Aaron tightened his hold on the older sister and quickened his pace. The alley twisted like a maze. Old walls leaned on each other. Dripping with moisture, dim lanterns flickered, creating shadows that made everything look dangerous. But Aaron had no time to think. He only knew one thing: he had to protect these two girls. No matter what happened to him, the older sister coughed weakly in his arms, her breath warm against his chest. Her skin felt cold, her pulse slow, and her clothes were torn. Aaron whispered, "Stay with me. Don't sleep. Please don't sleep." Her eyes opened a little, soft and cloudy. She tried to speak, but her voice broke into silence. The younger sister ran beside him, tears streaking her cheeks. "She can't breathe well. She needs help soon," she cried. Aaron looked around, searching for any place they could hide. But every direction felt dangerous. Every corner felt like a trap. Suddenly, the alley opened into a wider passage. But that was bad, very bad, because the mob poured into it from the other side. Blocking their escape, the girls gasped as the crowd closed in. Torches flickered, stones were lifted, and angry eyes locked on Aaron. The mob leader stepped forward. A tall alien man with scarred skin and sharp eyes full of hatred. He looked at Aaron and laughed cruelly. "A human protecting traitors," he said. How pathetic! Aaron's jaw tightened. He carefully lowered the injured sister onto the ground and stood in front of both girls like a shield. "She's dying," Aaron said, trying to keep his voice steady. "She needs help." Not stones, but the mob did not care. They shouted louder, "Move aside. Human, we will finish what we started." The younger sister stepped behind Aaron, gripping his coat with trembling hands. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please, don't leave us." Aaron felt something burn inside his chest: fear, anger, and determination all mixed together. He had been alone all his life, never belonging anywhere but right now. These two girls depended on him more than anyone ever had. He could not walk away. The mob leader raised his hand. Every stone froze midair. Every person waited for his command. The silence pressed against Aaron's ears like weight. Then the leader shouted, "Attack!" But Aaron moved first. He grabbed a broken metal pipe lying near the wall and swung it in a wide arc. The first attacker stumbled back. Shocked by the sudden strike, the younger sister gasped. Watching the human fight for them, Aaron was outnumbered. But his courage shocked the mob. He moved fast. Using the narrow space to block their attacks, a stone hit his shoulder. Pain flared through him, but he did not stop. He kicked one attacker aside and blocked another with his arm. The metal pipe rang with each hit. "Run!" Aaron shouted to the girls, but the younger sister shook her head. "We won't leave you," she cried. "We stay together." Aaron's heart tightened. But he had no time to argue. The mob circled closer, their voices filled with rage. A man rushed forward with a heavy wooden stick. Aaron blocked it with the pipe, sparks flying in the air. But the force pushed him backward, his back hitting the alley wall. The injured sister tried to lift her hand weakly. "Please, don't hurt him," she whispered with broken breath. Her voice was so soft that only the younger sister heard it. Tears fell down her face as she screamed, "Stop hurting him, please." But the mob did not stop. They pushed forward. Trying to reach the sisters, Aaron swung again. But the pipe slipped from his hand and clattered on the ground. Someone grabbed his arm. Another punched his side. Pain shot through his body, yet even in pain, Aaron pushed forward and grabbed both sisters with trembling hands. "We need to go," he whispered, using every bit of strength. He forced himself up and pulled them toward another narrow gap between buildings. The mob tried to block him, but the passage was too small for many people to enter at once. Aaron squeezed through the gap first. Dragging the girls with him, the mob shouted, their voices echoing like fire. Stones smashed against the walls, but the trio kept moving. The younger sister cried softly, "Thank you. Thank you." "Don't leave us." Aaron breathed hard, sweat mixing with dust and pain. He whispered back, "I won't leave you." "I promise," and he meant every word. Aaron pushed himself through the narrow gap between the buildings, his shoulders scraping against the rough stone walls. The two alien sisters followed closely behind him, their breaths shaky and uneven. Behind them, the mob screamed in frustration as only one person at a time could enter the tight passage. This gave Aaron a few precious seconds, but not enough to relax. He held the older sister's hand tightly, guiding her forward, even though she could barely stand. The alley ahead was dark and smelled of damp earth. Old pipes dripped water, creating tiny puddles on the ground that reflected the faint lantern light. The younger sister kept looking back, whispering through trembling lips, "They are breaking the wall. They will come soon." Aaron nodded, even though fear twisted inside his stomach. He had no plan, just instinct, and the instinct said to keep moving. The injured sister stumbled, her legs giving out under her. Aaron caught her gently before she fell and lifted her into his arms again. She felt even lighter now, and that scared him more than the mob. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, her voice weak like a fading whisper. "Why? Are you helping us, human?" she asked. Aaron looked down at her pale face. "Because no one deserves to die like that," he said softly. Her lips curved into the thinnest smile. Then her eyes drifted shut again. The younger sister walked close beside them. Her hands stayed wrapped around Aaron's coat as if letting go would destroy her only sense of safety. She kept biting her lip, trying not to cry. But the tears still rolled down her cheeks. "Please don't let her die," she whispered. Voice breaking like glass, Aaron gently replied, "I won't. I promise." They reached a wider alley that branched into 3 different paths. Aaron stopped, breathing hard, trying to decide which way would take them away from danger. The young sister stepped forward and pointed left. "That way leads to the old market." "But it's empty at night," she said. Aaron nodded and started running again. But before they could reach the corner, the sound of smashing stone echoed behind them. The mob had broken part of the gap's entrance. Voices filled the air with hate and fury. They went this way. Someone screamed, "Find them." Aaron's heart pounded faster. He gripped the injured sister tighter and ran. The younger girl ran beside him, nearly tripping over uneven stones, but refusing to slow down. As they entered the old market, everything looked abandoned and ghost-like. Broken stalls stood like skeletons, cloth covers fluttering weakly in the cold wind. Lanterns hung crooked and unlit, giving the place a haunted silence. Aaron moved quickly between the stalls, using the shadows to hide. But the mob grew closer with every passing second. Suddenly, the injured sister gasped painfully. Aaron stopped and lowered her to sit against a wooden crate. Her breathing was harsh, each inhale sounding like a struggle. The younger sister fell to her knees beside her, crying, "Sister, please stay awake. Please." The older sister opened her eyes slightly and touched her cheek. "Don't cry. I'm still here," she said weakly. Aaron checked her wounds with gentle hands. Her back and arms were bruised badly, and her head wound was bleeding again. He tore a piece of cloth from his sleeve and pressed it gently against the injury. The older sister winced but didn't pull away. Aaron murmured, "Stay strong." Just a little longer. Footsteps echoed through the market. Torches flickered like hungry flames. The mob was spreading out, searching every corner. Aaron's pulse quickened as he grabbed the younger sister's arm. "We need to move," he whispered. "But she can't walk," the girl cried. Her voice full of panic, Aaron looked at the injured sister. Then at the younger one. He saw the fear, the pain, and the trust in their eyes, and that trust gave him strength he didn't know he had. He lifted the older sister again, even though his body screamed in exhaustion. "We're going," he said firmly. Together, they moved behind old stalls and crates. Each step felt like walking on sharp edges. The mob's voices came closer, louder, angrier. The younger sister whispered, "They're close. They're so close." Suddenly, a shadow moved between two stalls. A torchlight flashed near their hiding place. Aaron held his breath, pressing the sisters against the wall. The mob member looked around, then walked away slowly. The younger sister clutched Aaron's coat, shaking violently when the footsteps faded. Aaron exhaled and whispered, "This way." Quietly, they snuck behind a collapsed market tent and squeezed through a broken wooden fence. Cold air hit their faces, and for a moment, they heard nothing behind them, just silence, a small, fragile hope. But that hope shattered when the younger sister suddenly gasped and grabbed Aaron's sleeve. Her voice trembling as she pointed with shaking fingers, "Human." Look, across the open yard, dozens of torches flared up. The mob had found their trail, and they were closing in fast. Aaron froze as the mob's torches flared across the open yard. The lights moved like burning stars, growing brighter and closer every second. The younger sister squeezed his sleeve tightly. Her voice barely a whisper. "They found us. They found us again." Aaron looked around quickly, trying to stay calm even as fear pressed against his ribs. He needed a place to hide, somewhere dark, somewhere the mob wouldn't check at first. Behind them stood an abandoned building made of old stone and cracked walls. Its door was broken, hanging crookedly on rusted hinges. Aaron pushed the sisters toward it. Moving fast but quietly, inside the place was cold, filled with dust, broken tables, and shattered pottery. Cobwebs stretched across corners like silver threads. But it was better than standing outside, waiting to be caught. Aaron gently lowered the injured sister onto a pile of old sacks. Her breathing was getting weaker, her lips losing color. The younger sister knelt beside her and held her hand tightly. "Sister, please. Open your eyes," she whispered, voice shaking like a child in a storm. The older sister responded with only a faint movement of her fingers. Aaron tore another strip of cloth from his shirt and pressed it over her wound again. The bleeding slowed, but her body shivered from pain and cold. Aaron whispered, "Stay with us, please." The older sister blinked weakly, then closed her eyes again, outside. The mob's footsteps filled the air. They searched the yard, their torches lighting up every corner. Aaron moved to the window and peeked through a crack. He saw the mob leader directing people with sharp gestures. He seemed angrier than before, as if losing the sisters was a personal insult to him. Why are they so determined? Aaron muttered under his breath. The younger sister looked up, eyes full of fear and sadness. "They want us dead," she said softly. "But why?" Aaron asked, turning toward her. Her lips trembled as she spoke. They think our family betrayed the village." Aaron frowned. "Did you?" The younger sister shook her head hard, tears spilling again. "No, never. We didn't do anything." She looked at her unconscious sister as if searching for strength there. "Our father was part of the village council. He found out that the mob leader was stealing supplies meant for the poor." Aaron's eyes widened as he listened. He tried to speak the truth. "And then everything changed," the girl continued, her voice low and full of pain. "The mob leader used lies to turn the village against us. He blamed our family for the missing supplies. He said we betrayed everyone. Her hands shook as she held her sister's arm. They killed our father. They burned our home. And now they want us gone too. Aaron felt something heavy settle in his chest. Anger mixed with sorrow as he looked at the girls. He understood now this mob wasn't seeking justice. They were hiding their leader's corruption and using these innocent sisters as scapegoats. Aaron whispered, "I'm sorry." The younger sister wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "It's not your fault, human. We thought no one would ever help us again." She sniffled softly. "But you came. You saved my sister. Even when everyone else wanted us dead." Suddenly, a torchlight swept across the window. Aaron ducked down immediately. The mob was getting closer to the building. He could hear their voices, angry, hungry for blood. "They must be here somewhere," one shouted. "Search every room," another commanded. Aaron moved quickly and whispered to the sisters, "We need to hide deeper inside." He lifted the injured sister again. Ignoring the pain in his own body, the girl felt even colder now. As if life was slipping through her fingers, the younger sister followed close, holding her sister's hand while walking. They entered a back room filled with crates and woven baskets. A broken shelf leaned against one wall, creating a small dark space behind it. Aaron set the older sister down carefully, then he pulled the shelf slightly, creating a tight hiding spot. "Get inside," he whispered. The younger sister crawled in first, her tiny frame fitting easily. Aaron pushed the older sister in next, supporting her head gently. Then he squeezed himself in last. Even though the space was barely enough for 3 people, the mob entered the building. Their footsteps loud and heavy, torches lit up the main room. Smoke curling into the dusty air, Aaron held his breath, his heart pounding like a drum inside his chest. The younger sister clung to his sleeve, trembling uncontrollably. "Search everything," the mob leader ordered. Aaron could see his shadow moving across the room outside. The man's voice was cold and full of cruelty. "They are here. I can feel it," he snarled. Aaron prayed they wouldn't find the hiding space. He kept his arms around both sisters, protecting them with his own body. The injured sister's breathing was shallow, almost silent. The younger sister buried her face into Aaron's side. Trying not to make a sound, the mob members moved from room to room. Their footsteps grew louder, then softer, then louder again. One wrong move, and they would all be discovered. Aaron tightened his grip on the sisters. He whispered with the softest breath, "I'm here. I won't let them take you outside the shelf." The mob leader stopped right in front of their hiding place, his boots pointed toward them, his torchlight shining dangerously near, and Aaron knew. One small sound could end everything. The mob leader stood only inches away from the hiding place. His boots stopped right in front of the cracked shelf. Torchlight leaked through the wooden gaps, bright enough to show his shadow stretching across the dusty floor. Aaron did not move, not even a breath louder than a whisper. The younger sister pressed a hand against her mouth. Trying to stop herself from crying, the injured sister lay between them, her breathing soft and fragile like a dying flame. Aaron tightened his arms around both girls, protecting them even though he was shaking inside. He knew one wrong sound could end everything outside. The mob members kicked through broken furniture, searching every dark corner. "We find them tonight," the mob leader growled. "Or we burn this place down." Aaron felt the younger sister's fingers grip his sleeve tighter. Her eyes widened with fear, and tears gathered but did not fall. She whispered so softly it was almost silent, "Human, please, don't let them take us." Aaron leaned his head toward her and whispered back, "I won't. I'm here." His heart thumped painfully as the mob leader lowered his torch. Looking at the shelf with suspicion, a long, terrifying moment passed. Then someone shouted from the main room, "Leader, footprints outside." Fresh footprints, The mob leader turned quickly, anger filling his voice. "Search the outside walls again," he ordered. "They can't be far." His boots stomped away, and the torchlight faded slowly. Aaron waited until the footsteps grew distant. Only then did he exhale, his breath trembling in relief. The younger sister collapsed against him, shaking from fear and exhaustion. "We almost died," she whispered, her voice breaking. Aaron gently placed his hand on her head. "But we didn't. You're safe for now." The injured sister stirred weakly. Her eyelids fluttered, her lips trembling as if trying to speak. Aaron checked her pulse, still there, but fading. "We need to get her out of here," he whispered urgently. "She won't survive the night if we stay." The younger sister wiped her tears and nodded fiercely. "I know a place," she said. "A small shelter near the river. Only my father knew about it. No one else would think of it." Aaron nodded, grateful for any chance of safety. He carefully helped her lift the injured sister out of the hiding spot. The older girl winced softly, her head leaning against Aaron's shoulder. Outside the building, the night had grown colder. Fog covered the air like a thin white blanket. The torches in the yard flickered in the distance. Moving slowly as the mob searched the wrong direction, Aaron whispered, "Stay close to me. Stay quiet." The younger sister took his hand. Her fingers cold and trembling, they moved along the back of the building. Stepping over debris and shattered wood, Aaron held the injured sister as gently as he could, feeling her weakened breathing against his chest. The river was not far, only a few minutes away, but the path was open and exposed. Every sound felt too loud. Every shadow felt dangerous. Still, Aaron pushed on, determined to save them. When they reached the riverbank, the moonlight reflected off the water like silver. Mist swirled around the ground, helping them stay hidden. The younger sister pointed to a small tunnel covered by vines and broken stones. "That's it. The shelter is inside," she whispered. Aaron nodded and crouched down to enter, carrying the older sister carefully. The shelter was small, just a chamber built into the earth. Inside it was dark, dusty, and cold, but safe. Aaron laid the injured sister on a pile of old blankets. Her breathing was faint, her body limp, like all strength had left her. The younger sister knelt beside her, sobbing softly. "Please don't die. Please don't leave me." Aaron searched the shelter for anything useful. He found a small clay jar with old herbs. He recognized some from basic survival training. They could slow bleeding and reduce pain. He crushed the herbs between his fingers, mixed them with water from his flask, and gently pressed them on her wound. The injured sister winced. But her breathing eased just a little. Outside, the sound of torches and angry voices grew louder again. The mob had followed their trail. Aaron moved quickly to block the shelter entrance with stones and branches. He whispered urgently, "Stay quiet. Don't make a sound." The younger sister crawled close to him. Tears shining in her eyes, torches appeared on the riverbank. The mob leader's voice echoed through the night. "They are close. I can smell their fear," he snarled. Aaron held his breath. The younger sister buried her face in his arm. Trembling, the injured sister whispered something weak and soft. A sound only Aaron could hear. "Human. Save my sister. Please." Aaron felt his chest tighten painfully. At that moment, he made a silent promise he would not let either of them die. Not tonight, not ever. But then flames flickered brighter outside, and the mob leader shouted the words Aaron feared most. "Burn everything. They must be here somewhere." The night exploded with fire, and part of the shelter's entrance began to glow with heat. The attack in the night had truly begun. The flames outside grew brighter. The orange glow leaked through the cracks of the stone entrance like hungry fingers reaching into the shelter. Aaron pushed his body against the entrance, trying to block as much heat and smoke as possible. The younger sister clung to his arm, crying softly, her voice shaking. "Human. They'll burn us alive. Aaron placed his hand gently on her shoulder. Not while I'm here, he whispered. The injured sister lay on the blankets, her breath barely rising, her eyes half closed. Her lips moved weakly, as if she was fighting to stay in this world. Aaron crawled to her side and touched her forehead. Burning hot, she was slipping away faster than he expected. He whispered, "Stay with me. Stay with your sister." But suddenly a huge crash shook the ground above them. The mob was breaking rocks, tearing down stones. Trying to force their way inside, torches dropped near the entrance. Making the smoke rush inward, Aaron coughed, pulling his shirt over his mouth. "We can't stay here," he said, his voice rough from smoke. The younger sister grabbed his arm tightly, but they're right outside. "What do we do?" Aaron looked at the injured girl. Her chest rose slowly, painfully, like she was fighting for every breath. "We run," he said firmly. "We find another path." "Any path," the younger sister nodded, even though tears kept sliding down her face. Aaron lifted the injured sister one more time. She felt heavier now, not because of weight, but because her life was slipping through his hands. He held her against his chest, whispering, "Hold on. Please hold on." Then he pushed through the back wall of the shelter where the stones were weak. He kicked twice hard and, finally, the rocks shifted with a cracking sound. Cold night air rushed in through the new opening. The younger sister gasped in relief and crawled out first. Aaron followed, carrying the older sister. They emerged into a narrow path behind the riverbank, hidden by thick bushes, but the sudden quiet didn't last long. A sharp voice tore through the night. There. The mob leader had seen them. His torch tossed shadows across the ground as he stepped forward with deadly confidence. "You cannot run forever, human," he snarled. "Hand over the sisters now." Aaron stepped back. The younger sister moved behind him, shaking violently. But Aaron didn't retreat far. He couldn't, because he refused to let the older girl die here. He looked straight at the mob leader and said in a low voice, "You destroyed their family. You will not destroy them, too." The mob leader laughed coldly. "You think you can fight me? Fight all of us." Behind him, dozens of torches lit the riverbank like a field of fire. The mob chanted in anger, "Kill them! Traitors!" Aaron lowered the injured sister carefully onto the ground. He brushed her hair back gently, then stood up slowly. His body hurt everywhere. Bruised, exhausted, bleeding, but his eyes were steady. He whispered to the younger sister, "Stay with her. Don't move." Then Aaron picked up a thick branch from the ground. It wasn't a weapon, just a piece of wood, but it was all he had. The mob leader smirked when he saw it. "You will die quickly." "Human?" Aaron didn't answer. He stepped forward, placing himself between the girls and the entire mob. His heart pounded, but he didn't step back. This was his stand. The mob leader lunged first. Swinging a heavy metal rod, Aaron blocked it with the branch, the impact sending pain through his arms. He stumbled but didn't fall. He swung the branch. Hitting the leader's shoulder, the leader roared in anger and attacked again. Their blows echoed through the night like thunderclaps. Behind Aaron, the younger sister held the injured girl's hand, crying, "Please don't die. Please don't leave us," she whispered over and over. Her voice trembled, but Aaron heard every word. Each plea gave him strength he didn't know he had. Aaron dodged another strike and landed a hit on the leader's knee. The man fell to the ground with a shout. The mob gasped, shock filling their eyes. A human had brought their strongest fighter down. Aaron stood over the leader, breathing hard. His body was shaking. His arms bruised, his face cut, but he still raised the branch again. "Leave these girls alone," he warned, "or I will fight every one of you." The mob hesitated. Some stepped back, unsure, their anger fading into fear. But the leader pushed himself up. Grabbing Aaron's collar, "You will die," he screamed, Aaron tightened his grip on the branch, ready to strike again, but suddenly a soft voice broke through the chaos. It was the injured sister, barely conscious. Her voice weak, but clear enough to reach Aaron's ears. Human. Please. Don't die for us. Aaron froze for a moment. Her words shook him to the core. But then he looked at both sisters, one injured, one crying, and he answered in a quiet, steady voice. I won't die. Because I promised to save you. The mob leader rushed at him, and Aaron stepped forward to meet him head-on. The last stand had truly begun. The mob leader charged at Aaron with a furious roar. The torches behind him burned like angry suns, lighting the whole riverbank in wild orange light. Aaron stepped forward, gripping the broken branch with shaking hands. He had almost no strength left, but the sisters behind him gave him one last reason to stand. The younger sister cried softly, Human, please come back alive. The mob leader swung the metal rod with full force. Aaron dodged barely in time, feeling the wind of the strike brush past his face. Pain shot down his body from every old bruise and fresh cut, but he held his ground. Refusing to let fear win now, he swung the branch, hitting the leader's arm with a sharp crack. The mob watched in stunned silence, a human, tired and bleeding, fighting like a storm to protect two alien girls they wanted dead. Some of them hesitated, their hatred fading as doubt crept into their minds. Others clutched their torches tighter, angry but unsure. The leader roared again and rushed toward Aaron. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying into the night. Aaron's arms trembled. But he still pushed forward, then with one desperate swing, he struck the leader across the face. The man stumbled and fell hard to the ground. Dropping his weapon, gasps filled the riverbank. For the first time, the mob saw their feared leader on his knees. Aaron stood over him, breathing hard, his chest rising and falling like a drum. He could feel his strength fading, but he lifted the branch again. Stay down, he warned with a shaking voice. But the leader, fueled by pride and madness, spat blood and rose again. He grabbed Aaron's collar. Pushing him backward, Aaron struggled. But he couldn't match the man's fresh fury. The leader slammed him to the ground. The world spun, and Aaron tasted blood in his mouth. The younger sister screamed. She ran a few steps toward them, but froze as mob members blocked her path. Tears streamed down her face as she cried, No. Please stop hurting him. Please. Her voice echoed across the water like a broken melody. It reached Aaron's ears, giving him one more spark of strength. As the leader raised the metal rod to kill him, Aaron grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it in the attacker's eyes. The leader stumbled, blinded for a moment. Aaron rolled away, grabbed the fallen rod, and stood up again on shaking legs. The mob watched, breathless, speechless. Some lowered their torches, confused why this human refused to give up. Aaron looked at the sisters, the younger one crying desperately, the older one barely conscious but watching him with soft, pleading eyes. He whispered, I won't fail you. Then he rushed forward with the last of his strength. He swung the rod, striking the leader's knee. Another struck his shoulder. The leader fell to the ground with a roar of pain. Aaron stepped over him and pointed the rod at his throat. Enough, Aaron said, voice low but strong. She is innocent. Both of them are innocent, the mob murmured, their anger breaking apart like fragile glass. Some dropped their stones, others looked away in shame. The younger sister ran to Aaron, grabbing his arm. Her tears soaked into his sleeve as she whispered, You didn't die. You didn't leave us? Aaron placed a hand on her head gently. I promised, he replied softly. The injured sister tried to sit up. Aaron immediately rushed to her and knelt beside her. Her eyes were weak but warm. She whispered, Human. You saved us, even when you were alone. Aaron brushed her hair back tenderly. You're safe now. Both of you are safe, he whispered. The mob, now silent, stepped away from the family they had tried to destroy. Some cried in regret. Others bowed their heads as truth replaced the lies they had believed. Several villagers stepped forward and confessed they had been forced by fear to follow the leader. The truth about the stolen supplies finally came out in the open. The leader was dragged away, defeated and exposed. Aaron lifted the injured sister once more. The younger girl walked beside him, holding his coat like she never wanted to let go. They moved away from the riverbank slowly, the long nightmare finally ending behind them. When they reached safer ground, the younger sister stepped in front of Aaron, her eyes shining with gratitude and something deeper. She placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head. Human, I belong to you. You saved my sister. You saved me. Aaron knelt and lifted her chin gently. You don't belong to anyone, he said softly. You are free. Both of you. The younger sister's eyes filled with tears. But this time they were tears of relief, not fear. Not pain, but of knowing someone had seen their worth. The injured sister whispered weakly, "Thank you." Aaron smiled faintly, his heart full and aching at the same time. "Rest now," he said. "Your new life begins today." And as dawn slowly rose behind the hills, the light touched the three of them, a human who fought alone, two alien sisters who survived together, and a promise that would never be forgotten.